Party puppers.
Dad.
Bring your family together. Optus Family Plan with 4 SIMs and 250 gigs of data to share.
Welcome everybody to the kickoff of Meta, but we are very excited to kick off the quarter and the semi-finals here for the playoffs, where the teams who have successfully won their states, they are the champions of each state of Australia, must now face off against one another to see who will come out top dog. Before we go into our first game, however, my name is Midnight, and joining me, and of course you guys throughout the course of the action, is of course my brother-in-arm, Tico.
Hello everyone, welcome to this magnificent game of League of Legends Meta High School. Definitely a beautiful tournament they have hosted so far, but hopefully we can get into it a little bit more in a short bit. But before we get into it as well, we do have to mention our sponsors. So we do have Acer Intel, Optus, Torrens University, and Harvey Norman. Give a big clap, Midnight. We're getting ready for this game.
Single clap is what they'll get. And speaking of our first game, Tico, the two teams that we have are very excited to dive into the first game here, which is of course going to be the winners quarterfinal. It's just a best of one, but these teams have to bring it here. So for the game on stream, we will have Perth Modern School facing off against Indooroopilly State High School, which comes from Queensland. So we have basically Queensland facing off against WA for our first on-stream match. And it'll be very interesting to see how these two teams go, because for me, Perth Modern School, they've been playing in meta this year, last year, that I can recall. And I'm very interested to see if this is the time where they can actually go the distance.
Yeah. Well, we are getting into the first game. It's going to be so much fun to just be able to see how these guys are going to be playing this game out. So, getting into the pick and ban phase, let's see what they do decide to go for. So many different strategies, as you probably all know. So we'll see what they start to pick out. Yeah, okay, so I think my co-caster just disappeared on me. That is fine. Midnight should be back very shortly. I thought it was my fault, but apparently it isn't. It's just him doing Midnight things. But we have a couple bans coming out. Welcome back, Midnight. How you feeling?
I keep forgetting that my Discord does not like me running a camera. Every time I bring up a camera on Discord, it's like, I'll give you 5 minutes and then I'm going to crash. But now, diving headfirst into the games, because of course we do not wish to delay here. The bans coming out so far, Graves, I think, is the first one to focus on. A very meta ban, really, really strong and dominant. And on the other side, of course, Ezreal, Renekton, nothing too surprising out of here, except maybe the Wukong. But then again, Wukong into any bruiser is just not fun to do.
Yeah, so you really just want to take those options off the board. As you said, yeah, Ezreal, definitely a strong pick to take away. Very safe. Definitely one of the AD carriers that you want to first pick. If your AD carry knows how to play Ezreal properly, which you probably should learn how to play Ezreal properly if you're going to be in the AD carry role, especially in this current meta. And alongside that is the Ashe.
Yeah, they are rising in popularity, right? Especially right now. In almost the realm of Manamune being almost the obsessive item that every marksman seems to be buying. We're seeing it on Draven. We're seeing it on Twitch. I do like to see her taken off the board. Although I'm a bit worried already, Tico. Perth Modern School have decided of all champions to lock in, of all things that must be prioritized, it is the Yasuo who has been acquired first.
Please be Yasuo Malphite Yone composition. Please be Yasuo Malphite Yone composition. Honestly,
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, put Malphite in the jungle, Yone top. Or Yasuo Malphite in the bot lane with Yone mid or top. It'll be hectic.
It'll be disgusting is what it'll be, Tico. But I feel like there's it's a bit funny to look at the opposite side. Jarvan Lissandra already screams they know they're in danger. Especially that Lissandra, who doesn't get locked in very often, I don't feel like, especially nowadays.
Yeah, she does struggle a little bit, especially into other style champions. So she gets dunked on by assassins, right? Because they have a lot of mobility in their kit, and Lissandra sort of struggles into that one. But people who don't have as much like instant mobility like the Yasuo, she does relatively well into. All she really needs to do is keep her distance, make sure that she stuns him up or roots him at the perfect time, and then she should be fine. So it is a good counter pick into the Yasuo for safety reasons, not in terms of getting lane priority.
Yeah, and when we look at the entire lineup coming out from Indoor right now, it does feel like a very safe top half of the map. Shen, very, very safe in the top lane with his ability to deny auto attacks. Lissandra, as you just said yourself, should be able to keep herself relatively safe up against the likes of the Yasuo. And Jarvan is a pretty consistent jungler. It's very hard to go catastrophically wrong on Jarvan unless you like EQ flash after the animation's been completed. Like, there aren't too many ways to mess up that champion. There on the other side, though, Perth Modern School have seemed to put together a bit more of an aggressive top half of the map here, because you talked about Yasuo and his setup. I'm seeing two separate setups for Yasuo already, and we're not even looking at the support yet.
Yeah, and look, and this is just assuming that the Yasuo is mid lane, because there is every potential for a flex Yasuo pick to go bot lane, because we've seen it before, and it's definitely a cheese strategy, but you know, solo queue, there is a possibility of that happening, and especially with people that play at this caliber. I'm not saying that they're at a lower caliber, but you are more inclined to see them with the solo queue sort of style compositions, and being a Yasuo locked in first pick, there is every potential for that to be a flex pick, and just this team saying, hey, we're gonna big brain them.
We're gonna mega brain them. The only reason why I don't think that may be the case is in the games that I do recall coming out from the side of Perth Modern School, they've never had a tendency to put a Yasuo in the bottom lane. They typically like to play a very safe AD carry like the likes of the Ezreal, which is of course on the ban list. The follow-ups to that would probably be something like a Varus. I guess he's relatively safe of a champion there. Especially because when you look at what Indoor have already secured for themselves, they have early grabbed the Vayne, and I was a little bit off with the Varus guess there. It is in fact going to be a Kai'Sa lock-in. I
want to see an Alistar, Thresh, or Leona paired with this one. I would personally like to see the Alistar to be paired, to be able to stack up the Kai'Sa's passive, as well as get a AoE knock-up to pair with the Yasuo. So that'd be a really good pick to get some synergy with the rest of the team. Thresh is one of... Did I say Thresh?
I believe you did. You said okay. Thresh, Alistar, and Leona, I believe.
Beautiful, because I just big-brained myself.
But the issue is, yeah, Morgana's still up, though.
They did leave that option open, which I do think... I do agree with that Thresh pick, because it does pair well with a Kai'Sa. Usually we do see a Kai'Sa Thresh in the bot lane. If you see a Kai'Sa, you're gonna see a heavy CC champion bot lane if you're in a team composition. But yes, Morgana was open. They probably should have banned that away in the second banning phase.
But then when you look at what they did choose to ban away, which is of course the Caitlyn, which I think is a very good choice to ban away, especially nowadays where... For example, hell, yesterday itself, guys, if we were watching the OPL finals, Caitlyn was highly prioritized. Sure, she struggled a little bit, but the essence idea of the character, which is to dominate early, and get early gold and accelerate yourself with the game is very difficult, especially for the likes of a Kaiser to deal with. So I do like the ban there. And of course, Blitzcrank, I don't know a single person who likes versing Blitzcrank. Because you make one mistake, one minor positioning mistake, and somehow you've gone from midway in the bottom lane to under the enemy's turret, and you don't really know how you got there, but it sucks.
Yeah, well, I mean, as we saw in the Division 2 finals, Blitzcrank was devastating in that first game. Like, they sort of struggled against, the losing team sort of struggled against the Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank was picked in 3 times during the finals in the best of 5. So, definitely someone that can be devastating in the right hands. However, I do agree with the Thresh pick. It can be a little bit more devastating in terms of if it's being put in someone who's got practice in the champion, because as we all know, you can have some really bad hooks if you're on the side. Like, you can have some really bad hooks if you're on the side of the enemy team. And so you're standing behind a minion, and then there's this thing called lollipopping, which basically your hitbox is larger. The end of the Thresh hitbox, the hook is larger at the end, and then it hooks the champion, and then some people are like, no, I was behind minions, and the guy's like, no, you weren't, I just am too good at Thresh.
Or you do what I end up doing, which is you throw 7 death sentences in a row, miss every single one of them, and then you lower the enemy's guard against your death sentences because they think you can't hit them, and that's when you catch them out. You make them think that you are so bad at Thresh, they just stop worrying about you, and then you catch one hook and you flash the Mastery 7. That's what I'm hoping to see out of Catcher there.
Or you big brain it, don't even throw out a hook, because the threat of the ability is more dangerous than the use of it. So just step up.
I feel like
and if you have to, flay him.
I'm about to say, I feel like someone's reading the tips here from the League of Legends client. The threat is as much as the actual ability itself. Now, we talked a lot about this bottom lane. It shouldn't be too active because, as I was saying, the Morgana should be denying the Thresh any engage. The middle lane specifically is where I think things will get a little bit interesting, Tico, because Yasuo's love to snowball. They love to get ahead early. Lissandra, almost the queen of Nope, should be able to manage him. And then if he keeps pushing his luck, if this Yasuo keeps extending himself, I really hope that Pop the Smoke on this Jarvan actually focuses this mid lane and camps it. Because if you can make this Yasuo go 0-5 or 2-5 in the early game, anytime he tries to throw himself in there with the final breath ultimate, Lissandra can just lock him down, shut him down, and take him out of the fight.
Yeah, but I do agree with that one. But we are going to go into a short break so we can get synced up and get rid of the spectator delay, get rid of the loading screen. So, guys, we'll be right back with Game 1 between Perth Modern School and Indooroopilly. See you soon.
And we are into our first game of the day with Perth Modern School facing up against Indooroopilly. Hopefully I pronounced that one correctly. Twitch chat, I'm sure you'll be happy to... I've already got Twitch chat correcting my pronunciations, which is going to be a fantastic kickoff to the cast here, Tico. As this game here, which is so important for these two teams. Some shenanigans coming out of Perth with the 5-man Death Bush, but unfortunately, there is no such bite coming into it.
Okay, so it's Indooroopilly. Gotcha. Thank you, Twitch chat.
Okay, thank you guys.
Really appreciate it, guys. But now that we've got that all out of the way, we are now pronouncing the names both right. I'm assuming we're pronouncing Perth Modern School correctly.
That Twitch chat is just trolling us so hard. I'm just having way too much fun. Okay,
but getting back into the game, they were stacking into the bush, making sure no invade was coming out. I don't think that an invade would have been smart from Indooroopilly, but you know, they're just prepping for it just in case. However, you know that Morgana Vayne are gonna be looking for something.
Yeah, they are set up in the river, although yeah, look at Hansen and Kathich, they're not gonna get in trouble. They're doing almost the overly safe route to get back into lane, but honestly, it is the correct decision. You don't want to give Morgana any of those free Dark Bindings, because that's when she becomes an absolute menace. Because one Dark Binding can mean a Vayne all in, and they hurt. Even in the early game, they can do quite a bit of damage. So bot lane is just sort of hanging out and chilling, and so far the junglers, a bit different styles here. The Jarvan, I think this is interesting here from Pop the Smoke, is rushing his 2 buffs as quickly as possible.
Yeah, he does have his mid lane pushed in for him, so wouldn't be surprised if he does decide to go for the Yasuo. So you do know that Itzo has to be very careful with that one.
On the other side, of course, we see Ika Joe did a bit of a heavier jungle clear, at least initially. Of course, going from the bottom side, red, Raptors into Wolves into blue buff. He should be up around for the Raptors, so he'll be fine for that one. Pop the Smoke, despite rushing those double buffs, which typically means, prep work for a gank instead, he's just going to hang back, do a bit of clearing out himself there, and a bit of a slow early game, Tico, but then again, when you look at both carries, both marksmen in the bottom lane, a slow game isn't exactly something these teams will complain about.
No, definitely not. I mean, we do know the power of a Vayne, and especially into a lineup like a Nunu and an Ornn, and even a Thresh if he does get towards that late game, they have to be very careful in terms of the damage output that the Vayne is going to be dishing out. She will be one of the priority targets in terms of lockdown for team fights, but they also have to watch out for the Jarvan CC with his Cataclysm, the Lissandra with her massive amount of lockdown onto whatever carry she decides to use, as well as just making sure the Morgana's not wreaking havoc with the Dark Binding.
And I think, as you were saying, the lockdown specifically is something that Perth Modern School have very quickly taken into account here, as we see a double cleanse out of the 2 primary carries from there. We're also seeing some fun shenanigans here, as the Emperor might be in a little bit of bother here. He has Flash available. Very interesting choice of Flash there. He's going to get Flag and Drag knocked up there. Nunu arriving by time. There's no more. They will be able to get 1. The flash out from Shen will not save him, and that is 2 kills donated to the Emperor of the top lane.
A beautiful double kill, just clipping the edge onto the Shen to be able to pick up that 2nd kill. Double kill going over to an Ornn. I mean, yeah, depends on how this Nunu is going to be building, because if it's an AP Nunu, probably would have been better for the Nunu to pick up the double kills. But, I don't think either of these players are complaining that they've picked up a double kill. Whether it be that 2 assists go over to Ikajo and the Emperor Wang picking up 2, he's going to have a field day up on this top side now that he's got a little bit of extra gold in his pocket.
Even more so in the fact that was on the back of a counter engage coming in from Ikajo. Emperor's bought enough time for his jungler to rock up there and turn the tables, and Shen, he loves to get ahead early, because if you've got the likes of a Shen, you've got 2 global abilities, which is probably stating the obvious there, which is the Shen ultimate as well as the teleport. If he gets ahead, he can put a ton of pressure around the map, so I love the shutdown there. And I suppose we have to keep our track on, well, where does Pop go now? Because he went top lane, it backfired rather catastrophically. Let's not mince words there. And now that he has lost access to his buffs, is he going to try and just farm up and get to 6 as quickly as possible and use the Cataclysm as a setup for his Vayne? Or is it now, okay, well, the first gang failed, but let's try it again anyway?
Well, I do think that he doesn't have as much priority in the top side as they think they did, especially against Anorn, who had so much resistances, and that early on, he was having a field day. He's got a lot of gold in his pocket now, so I'm not sure that that's necessarily worth. You can try again, sure, now that Emperor Wang doesn't have his flash up, but again, we do see Ikajo roaming around the top side jungle, and so I do think he needs to put some priority around this mid lane. I'm gonna get that in before he goes in for another gank, as it seems like he's doing now.
And he's interestingly decided to go top lane here. The wave really isn't in a fantastic position either, so he will be forced to back away there. Maybe a little bit of wasted time coming out from Pop the Smoke. Again, the idea, I love it, because you want to get your Shen ahead in this lane matchup, but unfortunately you need to be intelligent about how you decide to push that tempo. And speaking of it, Shad might be in trouble there. He gets caught by the snowball. The Absolute Zero coming down as well. He's trying to stand united his way out of the fight, but the CC will interrupt that, and the Emperor will claim the 3rd kill of the game. 100% kill participation.
Oh my gosh. Emperor Wang is now, with the help of Ikajo, taking this top lane away, and you think that it might go in favor of the Shin, but no. The Ornn just decides he wants to clap that Shen with his hammer and basically take the lane in his favor. And it's gonna be a little bit rough for Chad Yu now that the Ornn is 3 kills up.
Yeah. When you look at these lanes on paper, you're like Ornn into Shen. Well, I mean, they've both got percentage health damage, but they're also tanks, so you know it's just gonna be a bruise fest. Lissandra into Yasuo, you know, you'd expect that's where the excitement would exist. But instead, the 2 mid laners have just been farming it up relatively peacefully. We might see like the first shenanigans out of them with this roam here from Eastway's Yasuo, but so far, again, it's been such a chill game beyond the top lane, which is, you know, just no longer an island, but instead just where the junglers are magnetically attracted towards, apparently.
Yeah, they're having a field day up there. The Nunu's having more of a field day. It's like, this is the best field trip ever. Nunu, come with me. Is like Nunu's school bus with all his school friends. It's like, and we're having so much fun here. It's got a history museum where we see the Shen die 3 times. They do pick up the Mountain Drake, first Drake of the game. So it does give their Ornn a little bit more tanky stats.
I'm gonna say, speaking of school buses, all I can now hear in my head is the Magic School Bus theme music.
Yeah,
that's gonna prove my age. Just to prove my age. Like, Miss Fritz, where are we going? It's like that's the theme song that plays when Nunu uses his snowball up towards the top lanes on the Magic School Bus.
I don't even remember the theme song, but I just remember everything about what I learned from the Magic School Bus.
I think I'm just proving my age is what I'm doing.
Yeah, look, honestly, yeah. Kids, if you don't know what the Magic School Bus is, please educate yourself.
There's a Google search that must be made.
Yeah.
As looking at this bottom lane here, Jarvan, Pop Smoke has been sitting in this bush for a while now, and it's trying to do a setup here. Finally seeing the engage coming through here. This has to work from them. As the flash coming out from Hansen will get him out relatively easily. Carthage will get burnt down here. One more auto attack will get him down. Not able to get the final death sentence out, but is able to pick up a kill. Meanwhile, in the middle lane, they are trading blows here. Lion forced to run for his Absolute Zero comes out. A lovely tomb to buy a little bit of space, and they cannot afford to tower dive.
That was beautiful. That was well done by Lionmore. Beautiful micro mechanics to be able to, you know, outplay the Nunu, basically. She went to the very edge, knowing fully well that's when Nunu's going to reactivate his ultimate to end it early. And then as soon as she is about to hit the edge of it, uses her ultimate, mitigates all the damage, ignores it, basically. Is going to be able to walk away from that one. So, very well done. Meanwhile, down on the bot side.
Cool Bus in the bottom lane here. Sweet is in a little bit of trouble there. The Black Shield is able to keep them safe, and the counter teleport might actually prove a problem. Ikajo is forced to flash. Carthage realizes he might be in a little bit of danger here. Drops the exhaust, but will get taken down. There is nothing that Hansen can do here except watches. A very weirdly timed teleport here from Emperor Wang has arrived. Drops the call of the Forge Girl, but he's a little alone in this charge.
He wants more. He definitely wants more. Maybe a late teleport coming out from him, the Ornhorn as well, being a little bit too late to have any impact. So he's going to have to walk all the way up the top side, lose out on a bit of turret plating as well. And the Shen should hopefully be able to come back from its deficit.
But speaking of turret platings, I do think we need to talk about this mid lane a little bit, Tico. 700 gold in favor of Etswa's Yasuo. And that might, maybe just slightly, have something to do with, you know, the fact that every turret plating in that middle lane is missing bar one at the 11-minute mark.
Well, that's the thing that I thought that Pop the Smoke should be able to capitalize on, is the fact that Itswa has been shoving in this mid lane this entire game and hasn't been punished for it. Like, Itswa has had free reign over this entire mid lane, and we've seen Pop go the smoke. An early game jungler go up towards topside once for a gank. Meanwhile, we've seen Itswa shoving this topside, didn't have too much vision around his bushes as well. So I do think that it was a little bit of a mistake from Pop the Smoke to not capitalize on the fact that Yasuo is constantly shoved in this mid lane and go in for a gank.
Yeah, and they have, again, Yasuo can be quite vulnerable. We're seeing it potentially here in the bottom lane as Fox does get out without too many problems there. The Dark Binding, a little more than an annoyance in that bottom lane, as well, with the constant shoving that you were talking about. That's why I can roam like that, and he doesn't lose anything. Hell, he's still up in CS there, as the Emperor takes a bit of damage.
Yeah, but he's fine. One thing that I know that he doesn't get affected by taunts when he becomes, you know, uninterruptible. But it's just not something that crosses your mind when you think, oh, Shen's gonna taunt me.
Yeah, I mean, I love Ornn, man. I love the video proc, the W, because there are so many annoying abilities like, oh, you're trying to put me in danger? No, fam. No thanks, fam. I'm just out of there. Speaking of out of there, Sweets needs to run for all that he's worth, but getting caught by the death sentence is exactly that. Farewell.
That ain't it. That's not where you want to be, especially when you get hit by a hook. That was a beautiful hook coming out from Cathach as well. Did manage to spot out the Vayne on the ward down in towards that bot side bush. So he had constant vision onto the Vayne, but still a beautiful hook to be able to ensure that the snowball does land. Oh, threading the needle, bowling style.
Oh, wait. Lionel may have made a slight mistake here, going far forward there, and will use the 2 to find a little bit of space there. Send United will bring the reinforcements in, but Pop the Smokers on the front line. He will get taken down, and an overextension coming in here does net Perth Modern School one more kill under their belt.
And they take their gold lead a little bit further ahead with that turret going down as well. They ensured... Ooh, comes a fight between the 8 carries.
Yeah, Hansen trying to fight this off. Sweet backing up, and Hansen's feeling confident, perhaps too confident. He gets cut down quite quickly there. Cathach gets the hook, says, get over here, buddy. Pretty sure that was blind as well on to Fox, who uses the Soul Shackles to buy time, but will get cut down. The Flash actually might get them out. Ikujo says otherwise. Vayne on the bottom side of the map. Sweet trying to do what he can. Gets the PTA proc down, but the exhaust is down. So annoying, but they cannot kite this fight any more than they already have. But the reinforcements in the back end of the fight does go nicely. A double kill in the favor of Lion Roars Lissandra on the janitor duty.
Yeah, good trade. A beautiful rotation coming out from Lion Orb, playing that one beautifully, coming around from behind and just absolutely decking them back to their base. And they're going to be able to take away a free Infernal Drake off the back of that. I think they stayed a little bit too long. As soon as Hasten died, they probably should have backed away with their main damage source, you know, down. And
well, I think they really wanted to try and at least get another kill onto the likes of its Sweets. The issue is actually that they overstayed their welcome. The idea of getting Sweets wasn't a bad one until you take into account the fact that Lissandra, an area of an effect-based mage, was coming up behind you, and most of you had no help. Eatsway, as well as, I believe, Ikujo, had probably sub a couple hundred HP combined between the two of them. And yes, Lissandra at the time didn't have an item, but Lissandra doesn't need an item. The thing is, Hansen needs to be a little careful in the bot lane because Sweets has a fully rockin' Blade of the Ruin King ready to go for these fights now.
Yeah, and Megan Fox is not one to be scarce of items as well. Picked up the Zhonya's Hourglass, an essential item for Morgana to make sure she doesn't take any damage while she is trying to proc her ultimate. I mean, it's a must-have, and she's already picked that one up. It is a dangerous game to be playing against this bot lane, and they really don't want to take any fights, especially with the Jarvan Ford down towards that bot side as well, ready for the rotation. They're going for it.
You talk about, they don't want to take fights. It gets the Lantern out. Dark Binding does not connect. That touch might be able to pull them in, and the Jarvan has now arrived. And it doesn't really matter, actually. As the teleport coming through there, Smoke might be in trouble. Cataclysms and immediately flashes out as they're stuck in there. Emperor can't do anything. He's condemned into the Cataclysm. A beautiful combo there as the flank coming in from Mikoja does get down the likes of Fox there. As Hansen dives into his own backline and into his demise here. So low on the fight. The Flash will take down Sweets. Will almost get taken down, as well as the reinforcements of Iswa will have to fight it off with Ikujo. They will get down Smoke courtesy of the Nunu there. Staying United coming out at the last possible second. Keeps Smoke alive. You have got to be kidding me there. As a double talk coming in from Chad, and the reinforcements from Lion might be enough, but they're going to be careful. Zikajo, he's so damn healthy. He heals way too much, and he will take down Lion. His eyes now turned onto the likes of the Chad here. Such a drawn out fight between all these teams, but with the Shadow Dash, he might just be getting away.
Yeah, and look, the Thresh is back to join in with the fight as well. Cathatch has come back and died early on, but, they, as you said, that fight was drawn out for so long that it gave enough time for that for the support to come back into that fight. However, does look like they're going to try and take down that first tier turret. Not going to work down on the bot side. And looks like they're going to get some rotations back to where they are. I do think that Emperor Wang is going to be able to take up that top tier turret. That top tier 1 turret. Oh.
It might be a problem for Fox here. Simply put, they are way out of position. We'll get taking down the Vengeance coming up from Sweets there. Maybe a little too ambitious from the Vayne. That was confidence coming out, perhaps.
Okay. I do have a mini question. How did the Yasuo proc his ultimate off the Thresh hook? I checked and he didn't use his flay.
Oh, but I'm pretty sure it was the flay. I don't know that one, I'm afraid. I wasn't aware that the Thresh Q was a knock-up. I thought it was just general displacement, but...
You learn something every day. Anyway, I will have to fact-check that one later because... Right? I'm just making this aware to you guys. Right, please fix. But, we're going back into this one.
Yeah, sitting around the 18-minute mark now, we are seeing potentially another setup for a fight. These teams have been quite aggressive. 21 kills in the 18 minutes of play so far, and a lot of those kills focus on the top half of the map for Perth Modern School and its members. As we're seeing those very members pushing forward, trying to get some vision down here in the enemy jungle. But I think they might have to play a little bit safer because when you look at their team, they've got well, how to put this nicely, no range. Like Hassan's the range, and it's a Kaiser who's got what, 575 or 525 actual range. Like, it's not exactly a lot.
No. So they do need to rely on their team fight. They do need to rely on being able to close that distance, and they do that really well with the Nunu. They do it really well with the Ornn, being able to gap close with the Yasuo. It's not hard for them to be able to do so, but they do have to be weary of the amount of peel that... Yeah, they do have to be weary with the amount of peel that the Morgana provides, with the Lissandra, the J4, even the Shen.
There is a lot that can follow up in these fights, and I think, Tico, we will be able to see it. The ultimates are ready to go. The dragon is being taken now, and we're seeing Perth Modern School set up for their objective. They will be able to secure it without contest from their opponents.
Yeah, so that's going to be their second dragon of the game, and being the fourth dragon, that is going to be the Ocean Drake as well. So if they do decide, if they do manage to pick it up, Perth Modern School are going to be one heck of a team fighting team with one Mountain Drake and 3 Ocean Drakes. That's going to be pretty dangerous, especially when they want to maintain melee combat. Indooroopilly, they want to keep their distance.
But will they be able to keep their distance is probably the better question. And, well, no. It's unfortunately the answer here. Because you've got fantastic disengage tools. Jarvan, Lissandra, and Morgana all have fantastic zoning and disengage tools. But from what we're seeing, it's never been enough there to stop the likes of Ikajo's Nunu just rolling in. And even if you could stop Ikajo, how are you meant to stop Emperor Wang and the Ornn from actually starting the fight?
Yeah, because he calls in his ram with his Ornn horn and basically slows down any members, gap closing for days, coming out with the Nunu and the Yasuo, and then they can get on top of anyone that Ornn hits. If Ornn misses somehow with his first bit of his ultimate, he can just headbutt it right back in the direction that he wants to, and will have to force a flash off the back of that one. So they do have to be very, very careful in terms of the fights that they take.
Yeah, fight selection is going to be rather critical here. Coming in to the 22nd minute. Or soon to be, sorry, the 22nd minute here. A quick glance down the items, perhaps his most alarming is Hansen right now. Well, he hasn't got much. He's sitting on a 500 stack Manamune and the components of his Rage Blade. It's always a little alarming when I see just, scraps and components of, the second item coming in to this point of the game, because you want them to be relevant. You want them to be strong. And yet, again, with these two, it's very much just sort of sitting back and waiting.
Yeah, and I do think that It's Sweets is sitting on his Runan's Hurricane. Not Runan's Hurricane. Gosh. Guinsoo's Rage Blade, that's the one.
There you go.
It does have 1,000 gold over his counterpart, but, does need to be very careful in terms of getting that lead, because currently looking pretty good, but only has like about 700-800 gold sitting in his pocket. So he does need to make sure that he, with the Vayne, doesn't have as much range as well. So they do need to be careful in terms of team fight positioning. Need to make sure that they have a lot of peel with the Morgana onto the Vayne. Lissandra should be fine in terms of escape, but when you look at the Vayne with 2 items now, you still need to make sure that she is safe.
I want to see that just here there, as Baron has been started up. 8,000 HP. No one is responding to this medal here. It's almost like I think they have to know it's being started, but it doesn't matter. And a free Baron being donated, but basically to Perth Modern School.
Yeah. That was, they didn't have any vision in there, and they did manage to spot out that they were starting Baron, but they could not track the HP that it was sitting on because of a beautiful control ward coming out from the Perth Modern School into that pit, and no prep from Indooroopilly to be able to see what's happening in there. So they did have to give that one away. That does give away a lot of pressure for the next Dragons as well, because, they shove in the lanes, if they send their Ornn top side, they can shove in that top wave as well, forcing Indooroopilly to put one member up there to deal with him. Most likely going to be the Shen, because Shen has teleport as well as Stand United, so forcing him to bring someone up there, and then they just don't go for the fight on the side of Perth Modern School. They just, because they got so much DPS, they can just take down that next dragon very quickly, prep it, which they have started to do already with that Scuttle Crab, and they should be able to take this next one easy.
And partly that could also be the incoming ornaments coming through here from the side of PMS here, as we are seeing the Molten Edge here. The upgraded Infinity Edge for the Yasuo is absolutely critical. But speaking of Yasuo, he is getting caught out a little bit here. Will be forced back, as the Glacial Tomb was that a little bit overkill, and the Retaliation Ornn Horn was probably just as bad. Right? Is it?
No. But Itwa is getting caught out a little bit too much. However, those Dark Bindings are coming out clutch from Megan Fox, but they do need to, I don't think they really want to take any of those. Oh, Dark Binding, not Dark Binding. The death sentence does land, and it just got a shove in this mid wave. They're like, fight us, I dare you.
Oh, lovely. Oh, I thought that connected onto Sweets' vein there. I got very excited for a couple seconds. But really, I love the way they're utilizing this Baron buff here. Just constantly letting the minion waves be the one to front the aggro. Saying Etzai might be in trouble. He has reinforcements. Can he get onto the lantern? Yes, he can, and will dive his way to safety. Or will it be safety as he's getting goon squatted once again? The Vayne on the sideline trying to do what he can. He gets knocked up, gets caught out. There's a goodbye Vayne. Flashes over the wall there. Sweet, can he do what he needs to from the sideline as the rest of his team is being forced back and slaughtered by the enemy there? The death sentence goes wide, but it doesn't matter when Esway can cut you down.
Yeah, that should definitely be a free dragon off the back of that one. And they can shove in their waves still. They've still got... I'd say, like, less than just about a quarter left of their Baron, maybe less. So they should be able to get one more push off the back of that, potentially get this bot tier 1 turret, and then start their recalls and get a huge reset off the back of that.
And the timing of this is really nice as well, because they will have, of course, the threat of the Dragon Soul looming ahead of their opponents. The regeneration is something that you just can't easily deal with. Especially in team fights here. So we'll see how they're able to utilize this from the side of Modern School. Again, you would assume pushed with the Baron buff really, really well. You reset, you take the 2 objectives, the Dragon and the next Baron that comes up, and then you just charge down the middle lane and break anybody who tries to stop you.
Yeah, and I think that is going to be probably one of the better ways they can do this one. Either that or they get their Ornn onto one of those side waves. They should, as I said, he wasn't able to use the ulti there because he could not see his targets there. Well, that's why he takes so little damage. He actually wants this fight, feeling confident, dropping that final breath, taking down the enemy jungler. They've got access to sweeps. This Vayne is so critical. The exhaust is down, but continues to run away. Plays back in on the sideline. Yasuo is able to grab himself a second kill as well. As right now we are seeing Sweets, he's trying to find off the Nunu the best he can, but the AP damages are quite impactful here as Fox buys nothing but time. League of Stopwatch, I like to say. Yasuo's picked up one. The Morgana has her Zhonya's Hourglass, but it still counts as a stopwatch. But that was actually a very aggressive play coming out from Etzai. He really wanted a couple of those kills, and he decided he was going to take those, and he did. Ikajo had to fall for it, but they still get a massive... They get to snowball their lead. I mean, not off that because they've already started snowballing it, but they get to snowball this lead even further ahead, and they've already hit about 11,000 gold ahead.
Yeah, and this 11,000 gold lead is so significant from the side of Perth Modern School because, again, I like to call it the mark. 10,000 gold is the marker that says that this game is so difficult to fight and to be able to come out on top of. And we've reached that at 27 minutes. Now, typically, the mark comes around, you know, the 30-minute mark, maybe the 40-minute mark, just as a reaction to a team not being able to match the pressure, match the aggression. But in this case, no, there is so little that Idol can actually do in these sort of situations, because look at them, they're forced to run away from even the potential of a fight. As it engage, it comes out here from Ikajo, and once again, disengage come through from both sides.
Yeah, they really don't want to take a fight here. I mean, they still have the Stand United from Chad Yu. They've also got the teleport if he, some reason, doesn't have a Stand United anymore. But they do need to back off. Like, you can see it in their items. The Kai'Sa's already upgraded all 3 of her abilities with the Stinger. Actually, not a Nash's Tooth yet. So that doesn't upgrade her yet. But she's almost there. She's almost there. Got the Moramana as well as a Gwynsu's Rage Blade. So she's doing really well for herself. But you can also see it in the other items. Like, the Ornn sitting on 3 items. The Yasuo sitting on 4 with a Guardian Angel. And they're going for Baron. That is an unfortunate blasting cone for Emperor Wang.
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter for the Emperor there, as he will be relevant there. There is no chance of a Smite steal away here. And now Perth Modern School just need to play it smart and play it correct here if they want to look to end the game. And Lion, that is definitely not one of the ways you come back into this game, my guy. Starting a fight that I just don't think you win here. as the rest of the members are filtering through the best that they can. But the fight back coming out from Perth Modern School is simply far too much for the frontline hold. They will lose everybody in this fight.
Yeah, and that was a 5v4 as well. They had Baron buff. They've got 2 Ocean Drakes. Nunu snowballing it.
Oh no, run! Oh, that's heartbreaking, man. Chad could have tanked that so easily and chose not to.
Nah, he wanted to survive. Chad being a Chad boy. Just making sure that he's the only one left alive, because Shen is more important than the AD carry. Although, you really didn't see too much damage coming out from the Vayne. And there goes the tank.
That's meant to be a tank, and unfortunately does not stand the tail of time. Neither do their opponents, as Perth Modern School will be the victors in the first match of the day and advance through to the next stage here over on the meta sides. And that means that Perth Modern School will be facing off against Northern Adelaide Senior College for the winners semi-final bracket, which will be taking place in just about 15 minutes. So that'll be very interesting to learn how that goes. Tico, unfortunately, we will not be able to witness such a glorious game because we are going to dive to the other side of the bracket. We mentioned before, Kingsgrove North and Melbourne High School did play their quarterfinals off stream. The winner of that match will be facing up against Rangitoto College, who I believe, didn't they win last year? If I'm not mistaken, I'll have to double check that. So Rangitoto College is waiting in arms to see who will be meeting them in the semi-finals bracket here on the winners side.
Yeah, so I'll be very interested to see who's going to be taking that one away. But until then, guys, we will be right back with that. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the winner semi-finals.